Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay and enjoying the Memorial Day weekend. So, last week I had asked for you all to respond to what science meant to you, right? Or what is science, okay? And I got some really, really awesome responses. And I wasn't looking for, a Webster's dictionary definition of science. I just really wanted you to think about what science actually is, okay? And so the reason why that's important is because we have to really know what science is to be able to do science, right? So what does science actually look like when it's in practice? So the best definition for science that I can kind of come up with, again, this is in my own words, this is not copied from Webster's dictionary or anything like that, is that science is the process of asking questions that can be answered through experimentation and observation. Okay, and so let's look through this, right? So the process of asking questions. Well, to be able to ask a question, we have to have some sort of a phenomena or something that we see, right? I've got so many phenomena in my world right now, right? I've got this robin that is laying eggs up on one of my gutters, right? And so there's all sorts of questions I could ask about that. So all sorts of phenomena, right? I saw a car accident yesterday, right? And so there's so many questions I could ask about that. One phenomena that we see around these parts every year is that the bay freezes up every single year, right, during the winter. And so there's all sorts of questions that we could ask regarding that particular phenomena, right? So the first part of this is asking questions, right, that can be answered through experimentation and observation, right? So developing experiments that can then possibly answer the questions, right? Or developing methods of observation that can answer these questions for us. Okay, and so we're going to be using a template that I've developed to do this, and I'm going to take you through the entire process with my own personal investigation, and then I'm going to kind of set you free to do something on your own, right? And so the first part of this will be the asking questions, right? So it's observing some sort of phenomena that we can ask some questions about, right? And then testing those questions, right? Developing a method of how we're going to answer that particular question, and then reporting back on what we found out when we actually tested that question through results and a discussion, and then seeing if what we found out could get us to any other new questions. All right, so that's what we're going to do, and I look forward to going through my personal investigation, and then I will kind of set you guys free on your own. All right, so most of you have probably seen this reaction that happens between a Mentos and Diet Coke, but if you haven't seen it, I'm going to go ahead and show that to you right now. So what we have here is a room temperature Diet Coke and a Mento. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll open the cap of the Diet Coke and pop the Mento in there, right? And so you can see this reaction that has happened. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop this video since we have already seen our phenomena, and we'll start discussing what we can regarding this. Okay, so now that we've seen the Mentos and Diet Coke reaction, there are some things that we can start to do to plan our investigation. Now, I'm going to write in this form with my little Apple Pencil or whatever, but when you do this on your own, you can type in there. You could write on it as well, however you want to do it. But I am going to I'm going to write on it. So what we already know. So here's some things that we already know, right? Is that Mentos plus Diet Coke equals a reaction. And I just shorten reaction with RXN, right? And that Diet Coke, and I'll just shorten that with DC. So Diet Coke fizzes out of bottle. Okay. So that's basically what we know at this point. All right. The materials that I used in this particular, or that we used here, is a Mento and Diet Coke. Okay. And so now variables that we can change. So these are things that we can do to try and maybe affect some things, right? So we could change the type of soda. We could change the amount of soda. We could change the temperature of the soda. We could change the number of Mentos. We could also change the type of Mento. Okay, and this list is infinite, right? So I've just listed, 5 different things that we could change in this particular investigation. So how could we measure these changes, right? Well, so one of the things that we could look at for this is we could look at the time of fizz, like how long did it actually fizz for? Did it fizz for just a sec, or did it fizz for a while? We could look at the amount of soda left in the bottle, right? We could look at the height of the initial fizz. All right, so there's all sorts of different things that we could measure. Okay. All right, so now let's look at some questions then that we could investigate. Okay. And so, how does, and so I'm just taking these from these 2 different columns that we have filled out right here and here, right? So I'm just copying basically what we've got in there. So how does the type of soda affect the time of fizz, right? How does the temperature of the soda affect the amount of soda in the bottle left in the bottle, right? And again, this is a list that could go on forever and ever, right? There's so many different questions that we could ask, right? So the one that I'm going to ask for my personal investigation, because I was interested in this, is this second question that I just wrote, right? So that's the question that I'm going to select, right? So how does the temperature, right? And so that's what we're going to be able to change. Okay, that's our manipulated variable or our independent variable. All right, affect, all right, and amount of soda left in the bottle. All right, and so that's going to be our measured variable, right? That's something I can very easily measure, or our dependent variable, okay? So next, I'm going to go to the previous page, right? So how does the temperature affect the amount of soda left? All right. Okay. So the question for my investigation is I'm just going to restate this from the bottle. Okay, so how does the temperature of the soda affect the amount of soda left in the bottle? Okay. So what I think the answer to my question is, right? Really, what we have are two different hypotheses that we could make here: that there is an effect, or there isn't an effect. So, my guess, or what I think, is that there will be an effect on the amount of soda left in the bottle that depends on the initial temperature of the soda. Okay. So materials, I'm going to use 2 bottles of Diet Coke. Right. One will be cold and one will be warm. Okay. And then I'm going to use 2 Mentos. Okay. Okay, and that's 1 for each trial. Okay, so in my investigation here, I'm going to cool a bottle of Diet Coke in the refrigerator. And I'm going to heat a bottle of Diet Coke in a hot water bath. I'm going to place a Mentos into each bottle. And then I'm going to measure remaining soda in milliliters. Okay, so that is the procedure for my investigation. So let's go ahead and then look at my investigation. All right, so as you can see here, I've got some cold soda in the fridge, and then I've got a warm soda that's sitting in a warm water bath, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the lid off of both of these bottles of Diet Coke, and I've got them labeled, right? Make sure that it's very clear in your investigation exactly what it is that you're doing. So I've got a cold bottle and a warm bottle, drop them at the same time, right? And so you can see how the reaction proceeds, right? So we're going to let the reaction go for a little bit, and then I will come back and show you the results and discussion. Okay, so if you remember from earlier, we had already filled out the part from the investigation planning and then the procedure for the investigation. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at the results from my particular investigation. So just revisiting the question, right, I wanted to know if the temperature of the soda affected the amount of soda that was left in the bottle after the Mentos were placed in, right? And so as you can see, with the cold soda, there were 300 milliliters remaining, and with the warm soda, there was 200 milliliters remaining, which means that more soda came out when the soda was warm during the reaction with the Mento, right? So this is how I have done my particular investigation to present my results, right? You can see a measuring cup. I'm doing these at home because we're under quarantine, so I don't have graduated cylinders here, but it's pretty right on the dot there with 200 and 300 milliliters. Document in the same way that I've embedded my results into this Word document right here, right on this video. This is actually just a Word document, right? So next, what I did is I then typed up my discussion, right? So the discussion, initially you need to restate the hypothesis, right? Your methods and your results, okay? And then explain why you think that these results occurred. Now, I'm not going to read through every single bit of what I wrote up in my discussion, but you can pause this video at any time and go back to the video at any time to see exactly what it was that I wrote in my discussion, right? The other thing that you need to put into your discussion are any possible errors that occurred, right? So I've listed there some things that maybe I did wrong or things that I maybe should have done to make it a little bit more scientifically sound. And then I've also asked for you to put a couple of new questions based on your results. All right, so I've got a couple of questions there that now this data could maybe take even further. So this is how you are going to do your own investigation. Now, your investigation is not going to be with Mentos and Diet Coke. In fact, what it's going to be is related to freezing water. So, what you should do now is you should go to the YouTube video that is linked into this week's activities that says time lapse test freezing a glass of water. That will be your phenomena. Okay. That will be, in this example, my phenomena was the initial Mentos and Diet Coke experiment that I showed at the very beginning of this investigation, okay? So you're going to need to watch that phenomenon, and then you're going to need to use this guide that I have just provided you, okay? It is titled Science Investigation, a Word document that you are going to download. And then you are going to develop and design your own investigation related to freezing a glass of water, right? You're going to need to not only develop the investigation, but you're going to have to do the investigation at home. You're going to have to get your results, okay, and embed those results into your own Word. You're then going to have to type up your discussion in the same way that I've done it here, okay, and then turn it in, okay, and so you'll have until Friday to complete this experiment. I encourage you, if you have any questions regarding what I'm expecting from this particular assignment, that you reach out to me via email. I am here to help, and I'm assuming that I'm going to get some questions. So please, please, please ask questions. If the questions can't be done by email, we can set up a Zoom or anything like that. So good luck, have fun, and enjoy your at-home experiment.